Worried that eating fatty fish every day might spike your blood sugar or affect your diabetes? Many wonder if these tasty omega-3 rich fish are safe or helpful for diabetics. In this video, we'll explore the facts to help you make smart, healthy choices for your meals. Top 5 considerations for diabetics eating fatty fish every day. Now, making informed dietary choices is absolutely paramount when you're living with diabetes. So if you're thinking about making fatty fish a daily part of your meals, it's really crucial to understand the whole picture. Everything from the profound nutritional advantages to potential health concerns, and even some practical tips on how to include them. Let's explore these key factors, shall we? This will help you decide if this approach is truly the right one for your health journey. Number 1. Nutritional benefits of fatty fish. First up, let's talk about the nutritional benefits of fatty fish. They're really celebrated for their rich concentration of omega-3 fatty acids, especially eicosapentaenoic acid, or EPA, and docosahexaenoic acid, DHA. These essential fats are incredibly important for maintaining heart health, and this is a really significant concern for anyone with diabetes, as they often face a higher risk of cardiovascular diseases. The great thing about omega-3s is that they can help reduce triglycerides, lower blood pressure, and might even decrease the risk of arrhythmias. And it doesn't stop there. Beyond their heart protective qualities, these omega-3 fatty acids also have potent anti-inflammatory properties. Now, chronic inflammation is a common underlying factor in type 2 diabetes and can contribute to developing complications. So by incorporating omega-3 rich fish into your diet, you can help manage these inflammatory processes, and that could potentially improve your overall metabolic health and well-being. What's more, fatty fish are an excellent source of high-quality protein. Protein is really crucial for blood sugar management because it digests slowly. This helps you feel full and satisfied, and it also prevents those sharp spikes in glucose levels after meals. This can be particularly beneficial if you have diabetes and you're aiming for stable blood sugar control and effective weight management. Furthermore, these oily treasures are absolutely packed with essential vitamins and minerals. For instance, many fatty fish like salmon and mackerel are good sources of vitamin D. This is a nutrient that people with diabetes are often deficient in, and it's linked to insulin sensitivity and immune function. They also provide B vitamins, which are important for energy metabolism, and minerals like selenium and iodine, which support thyroid function and our antioxidant defenses. Really, the relevance of these nutrients for individuals with diabetes cannot be overstated. That increased risk of cardiovascular complications makes those heart-healthy omega-3s particularly valuable. On top of that, ensuring you get enough micronutrients like vitamin D and B vitamins can support your overall health and potentially lead to better diabetes management. This helps address common deficiencies and bolsters the body's natural defense mechanisms. Number 2, evidence on fatty fish and type 2 diabetes risk. Moving on to our second point, the evidence on fatty fish and type 2 diabetes risk. The relationship between eating fatty fish and the risk of developing type 2 diabetes has been looked into quite extensively using various research methods. Scientists have used large-scale observational cohort studies. These follow groups of people over many years, and also meta-analyses, which combine data from lots of different studies to try and draw conclusions about this dietary link. Essentially, these studies aim to figure out if eating fish can actually prevent diabetes or help manage it if you already have it. Interestingly enough, the findings from all this research present a bit of a mixed picture. Some studies do suggest that regularly eating fatty fish might have a protective effect, perhaps lowering the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. or it might be associated with improved glycemic control if you already have the condition. This is often put down to the anti-inflammatory effects of omega-3s and other good nutrients. However, it's not all straightforward. Other research hasn't found any significant link between fish intake and diabetes risk, or the results have been pretty neutral. A few studies have even hinted at potential negative associations, especially if the fish is cooked in unhealthy ways, like frying. That can unfortunately negate the benefits and even introduce harmful compounds. These contrasting findings really highlight just how complex dietary research can be. Now, one important factor that might explain these different findings is the role of where the study took place and the broader dietary context. You see, research from different parts of the world can give us varied results. This could be due to differences in the types of fish people eat, their local dietary patterns, or even genetic predispositions within those populations. For example, the benefits might be more obvious in populations where fish is a key part of a healthy diet, like the Mediterranean diet, compared to regions where eating habits are quite different. Number 3, dietary guidelines and recommendations. All right, let's look at our third consideration, dietary guidelines and recommendations. Leading health organizations, such as the National Health Service and various diabetes associations around the world, offer guidance on fish consumption for everyone, including those with diabetes. Generally, they recommend eating at least 2 portions of fish per week, and at least one of those portions should be an oily or fatty fish. A typical portion size is about 140 grams, which is around 5 ounces of cooked fish. These recommendations are really rooted in the substantial evidence we have that supports the cardiovascular benefits of omega-3 fatty acids, as well as the overall nutritional package that fish provides. For those of you living with diabetes, who are at a higher risk of heart disease, meeting these guidelines can be a really important part of a heart-healthy eating plan. Now, the emphasis on moderation, typically 2 to 3 servings per week, is crucial. This approach aims to get the most out of those well-established nutritional benefits, while at the same time minimizing potential risks that could come with eating too much. So while fatty fish are incredibly nutritious, it's a case where more isn't always better. Balancing your intake is really key, because even healthy foods can have downsides if you eat them excessively. When it comes to fish, some concerns include potential exposure to environmental contaminants like mercury, especially from larger predatory fish. Also, although it's less common, fish allergies are a serious thing to consider for some people. That's why the general guidelines promote regular, but not necessarily daily, consumption. And this brings us right back to that central question. Can daily intake be managed safely and beneficially, especially if you have diabetes? Number 4, potential health risks of daily fatty fish consumption. Let's move on to the 4th point, potential health risks of daily fatty fish consumption. One of the main concerns with eating certain types of fish frequently, especially daily, is the potential exposure to environmental contaminants like mercury. Mercury is a heavy metal that can build up in fish, particularly in larger, longer-living predatory species like shark, swordfish, king mackerel, and tilefish. High mercury intake can be toxic to the nervous system, so it's really advisable to limit these types of fish, or better yet, opt for fish that are lower in mercury, such as salmon, sardines, and trout. Then there are polychlorinated biphenyls, or PCBs, and other persistent organic pollutants, often called POPs. These are another group of contaminants that can sometimes be found in fish. These substances were once used a lot in industrial applications and can accumulate in the fatty tissues of fish. While the levels have generally gone down thanks to regulations, it's still something to be aware of, particularly if the fish comes from contaminated waters. Choosing smaller, younger fish, or those from cleaner sources, can help reduce this risk. Fish allergies are another potential health risk to consider, although they do affect a smaller number of people. Allergic reactions to fish can range from mild to quite severe and even life-threatening. So, if you have a known fish allergy, you must avoid fish altogether. And for everyone, safe handling and preparation practices are absolutely essential to prevent foodborne illnesses. This means fish should be stored properly, cooked thoroughly, and you should avoid cross-contamination. Finally, beyond our individual health, the environmental sustainability of eating fatty fish daily is a growing concern. Overfishing has unfortunately depleted many wild fish stocks, and some fish farming practices, or aquaculture, can have negative impacts on the environment, like pollution and habitat destruction. So when you're choosing fish, it's a good idea to consider opting for sustainably sourced varieties. Look for certifications from organizations like the Marine Stewardship Council or the Aquaculture Stewardship Council. This helps support responsible fishing and farming practices. Number 5, practical tips for including fatty fish in a diabetic diet. And now for our 5th point, practical tips for including fatty fish in a diabetic diet. When you're adding fatty fish to your diet, choosing the right types is really key to get the most benefits while keeping risks low. Some excellent choices for diabetics include salmon, which is well known for its high omega-3 content and how versatile it is in cooking. Mackerel is another great one, specifically Atlantic mackerel, as it's lower in mercury than king mackerel, and it's a powerhouse of omega-3s. Don't forget sardines, often found canned. They're not only rich in omega-3s and calcium, especially if you eat the bones, but are also affordable and low in contaminants because they're small and have a short lifespan. Herring and rainbow trout are also really commendable options. How you prepare and cook your fish also makes a big difference to its health benefits. It's best to opt for healthier cooking methods like baking, grilling, broiling, poaching, or steaming. These methods help preserve those delicate omega-3 fatty acids and avoid adding unhealthy fats. You'll want to avoid deep frying fish, as this can add a lot of extra calories and unhealthy trans fats, which could potentially cancel out those heart-healthy benefits. To make your fish tasty without relying on heavy sauces or too much salt, try experimenting with herbs, spices, lemon juice, or a light marinade. A simple sprinkle of dill, a squeeze of lime, or a rub of garlic and paprika can turn a plain piece of fish into a delicious and diabetes-friendly meal. And remember to pair your fish with plenty of non-starchy vegetables and a moderate portion of whole grains for a really balanced and satisfying dish. Now, what if you can't or choose not to eat fish? Perhaps due to allergies, dietary preferences like vegetarianism or veganism, or maybe you're concerned about contaminants. Well, there are alternative ways to get those important omega-3 fatty acids. Plant-based sources provide something called alpha-linolenic acid, or ALA, which your body can convert to EPA and DHA, although it's in limited amounts. Good sources of ALA include flax seeds, chia seeds, walnuts, and hemp seeds. Additionally, algae-based supplements are an excellent vegan source of preformed EPA and DHA. After all, fish get their omega-3s from eating algae. Fish oil supplements are also an option, but it's really crucial to discuss any kind of supplementation with your healthcare professional. They can make sure it's appropriate for your individual health needs, and that it won't interact with any medications you're taking. They can also guide you on reputable brands and the right dosages for you. Special considerations for different populations. Let's talk about some special considerations for different populations. The impact of eating fatty fish on diabetes can definitely vary based on geographical region and ethnicity. Dietary patterns differ so much across the globe. For example, people in coastal regions or those who follow a Mediterranean-style diet often eat more fish. These kinds of dietary habits, along with genetic predispositions and the types of local fish available, can all influence how fish intake affects metabolic health and diabetes risk markers. So research findings from one group of people might not directly apply to another, which really highlights the need for culturally sensitive dietary advice. We also need to think about specific considerations for certain demographic groups within the diabetic population. For example, pregnant and breastfeeding women with diabetes have increased nutritional needs, and the DHA from fatty fish is really crucial for the baby's brain and eye development. However, they need to be particularly cautious about mercury content, so choosing low mercury options and sticking to specific consumption guidelines is key. Then, elderly individuals with diabetes might benefit from the easily digestible protein and anti-inflammatory omega-3s in fish, which can support muscle maintenance and joint health. But factors like altered taste perception, difficulty chewing, or different absorption rates might mean they need tailored dietary approaches. It's absolutely essential to consult with healthcare providers or registered dietitians to personalize recommendations for these groups. Summary of key research gaps and future directions. Now let's touch on a summary of key research gaps and where future research might be headed. While the current research gives us valuable insights into the benefits of moderate fatty fish consumption for people with diabetes, there's still a significant gap when it comes to the specific effects of eating it daily. Most studies tend to focus on weekly consumption patterns, usually around 2 to 3 servings. So, we really need more targeted research to rigorously evaluate the benefits and potential risks of eating fatty fish every single day, especially for diabetic populations who might have unique metabolic responses and vulnerabilities. Looking ahead, future research should really aim to conduct long-term randomized controlled trials. These would be specifically designed to assess daily fatty fish intake in diverse groups of people with both type 1 and type 2 diabetes. These studies could explore how different types of fatty fish, varying in their omega-3 and contaminant profiles, impact things like glycemic control, cardiovascular markers, inflammation, and even the progression of diabetes-related complications. Moreover, it would be great to investigate the influence of different preparation methods, say baked versus steamed versus grilled daily, and how daily consumption interacts with overall dietary patterns and medication use. This would give us much more nuanced and actionable guidance for individuals who are managing diabetes. So, to wrap things up in our conclusion, fatty fish can undoubtedly be a valuable and healthy part of a diet for managing diabetes. They offer significant heart and anti-inflammatory benefits, which is fantastic. However, that question of eating them daily really requires careful individualized consideration. It's all about balancing these nutritional advantages against potential risks, like contaminant exposure, and also keeping in mind the current lack of conclusive evidence that directly supports eating them that frequently for diabetes management. Now for our call to action. If you found this information insightful, please do share it with others who might benefit. We really encourage you to discuss your dietary choices, including how much fatty fish you eat, with your healthcare professional. We'd also love to hear about your experiences. Please feel free to share your thoughts or any questions you might have in the comments below.